is the second oldest country in West Africa, and in the 1400s, Liberians were trading with Europeans, especially in spices and alligator pepper grains, which earned this place the original name of the Grain Coast.
Right now we are experiencing people living from Liberia, going to Togo, to Baka, and stuff. People come here and do the same thing. We got Chinese operator who will come here to sell their goods from this port to the other African countries.
And that's where the likes of ECOMOG was stationed. So the consistent attacks and bombardment of the area destroyed what was there, whatever infrastructure.
Where we had this building, you had just old containers where we were sleeping in.
When I returned, the port was not a port.
I mean, it was like a grass field. You see snakes passing on. Yes.
It was nothing to see.
Liberia comes from the Latin word liber, meaning liberty, because freed slaves settled here. So Liberia is a home of liberty for all black persons all over the world. During the days of slavery, en route to the west, Liberia was one of the last points that they would touch on because they could just come to the shallow waters. So the Freeport of Monrovia, or what is now the Freeport of Monrovia, was one such port. So far back as the 13th century, these natural ports were available for ships to berth.
The Freeport actually started when the US GIs, came to Liberia. They came to Liberia March 10, 1943. And when they came to Liberia, the essence of the GIs coming to Liberia was to supply North Africa with manpower. The first thing the GI embarked on was to build something what they call the Army Dock. No one talks about the Army Dock. That Army Dock is built on the Farmington River. Okay, we call it the Dew River, some people call it the Jung River, some people call it the Farmington River.
Because the Americans struck a deal here using the Firestone rubber plantation to be able to pick up rubber to feed the war machines during the period of World War II. Liberia also is ideally situated. It is the shortest point from West Africa to the Americas. So that made it easy to resuscitate the port.
So they brought in the water into Bushrod Island, and they built 2 breakwaters to break the way from bothering the ships. Freeport of Monrovia, as we see it, got finished after the World War. But no one knew when the World War II was going to finish. So they actually was building it to help them supply enough rubber for their work.
see the port, it was built in the administration of President William P. Estom, the Liberian 18th president. He called it Freeport for free enterprise system to encourage more merchants to come and do business in Liberia.
The concept that was adopted at the time was to allow all ships from throughout the world to freely come into Liberia without the usual encumbrances that have been in most other ports. And this is the concept that has continued to today.
'67, there was an act of legislation coming up with the National Port Authority. Now, the National Port Authority comprises 4 ports.
The Freeport is the largest port. It's on, I think, 750 acres. It's also the port of Buchanan, the port of Greenville, and the port of Harper. The port of Harper is on the far eastern tip of Liberia, and that used to be very active too. Before the war, a lot of logging activities. Liberia is one of those countries right now with 42% of the West African rainforest.
At that time, the cargo planes were not popular, so everything came by ship. People brought their goods to Liberia and it was transshipped to Guinea, Sierra Leone, Ghana, and all over West Africa. Okay, unfortunately, that isn't the case anymore.
In the year 1996, we had this conflict in Liberia.
People who were living this country, they couldn't go to the airport or go by road, only the route of the port.
The vessel was at the port by the name of Buck Challenge.
So we boarded the ship, but guess what? The ship, we're talking about the ship, was a cargo ship. So because we wanted to leave, we were constrained to ride a cargo ship. And that ship was taking up to 3,000 persons. So we went on board the ship. Our destination was Ghana.
But before going to Ghana, we spent about 3 days in this port because there was this saying that, oh, you have to wait. We have to have enough passengers for the ship before the ship can leave. And we were here basically in this port seeking refuge. And you imagine most of the warehouses you see around here at the time, they weren't here.
So we were able to use the port to leave this country.
I had a chance to leave Liberia when the war broke out, and I had a chance to return to Liberia through the port. So I didn't fly in, I didn't fly out, but I had a chance to go and come. But it was a turning moment for me when I was leaving. I was anxious to leave, but when I was returning, I could see a vision of hope. And the port was the place to receive us.
This port saved a lot of people.
And it was within that port we got the first food to eat when we got on the ground. It was in the port that we ate the last food before leaving. And as strategic as it is to the Liberian people, I would hope that we put a lot more attention on it and emphasis on the development of it back to where it was before and the significance that it brings back to our people.
Let me take you back a bit. In 1990, we had, that was when the Liberian War was at rage. And we had ECOMOG, the West African forces, came to Liberia. And this port, in order for them to enter, there was the only place they had to There was the gateway to enter to this place. And when the ECOMOG came, I tell you, they brought so much relief.
Well, I will tell you the fact, it had not been the port, there should have been a lot of casualty without bullets. Hunger would have killed them.
Because during the Civil War, people had imported rice, oil, you name it.
During war, you don't think about anything else but what to eat to keep you up. So the port played an important role in finding, providing food to the entire nation. What is still going on now?
Now, at one point in time, we had a second incursion of a war, and that was around 2003. And the rebels came and took over this port. I tell you, Monrovia was almost like, people were like dying.
Before the crisis, the port has started to deteriorate because there had been no development plan for the port, no constructive development plan. To be honest, I was afraid that one day the dock would just collapse.
Just to give you a synopsis, maybe beginning from 2003, we had a peace accord. So Freeport was given to Lloyd and Model. Those were the two rival factions that they gave the port to. So at that time, people were running the port with no system, no qualified employee, no skills.
The port was like a market ground. It was not organized as it is presently. It was like a market ground in that it was open up and people come for different businesses. Even you have people selling fried fish, cold water around on their head. People can do many transactions, selling liquor, and the port was just kind of loose, never organized.
The system that we have now where if you get to the terminal, the location of the container, everything in the system, it wasn't like that. For example, we have to have the container numbers on a piece of sheet and literally are passing, among the container section where the location of my container. If I see this, I mark it, put the location. I'll keep doing that until I locate all the containers that I'm trying to load.
You see, the port personally is being fenced, but then it was not even fenced. You could stand out and see in the port.
You don't just get people walking into the port. People used to walk from as far as outside the gate straight to the vessel.
The truck driver will come and just chunk the container all over, empty container. The guys would just come in, because the place was bad, they would just come and swing the truck and throw the container down. When you see the equipment operation at the time, you have one machine to serve up to 50, 60 customers in a day.
Periodically, the forklift breaks down, and when it breaks down, everything stops, we gotta wait. So the mechanic repair that when it gets started, it's like a push to get your container loaded. So
when the machine is moving, no safety, no control, everybody is running behind that one machine just to get safe.
Can you imagine someone who work vessel for 6 days? Someone who work vessel for 7 days? Because lack of equipment.
When there's a vessel operation, you have to stop the yard delivery or the yard activity and focus the vessel.
All the documentation has to be written manually. And those processes already gave rise to, people who could grab more. You could ship container, and without putting anything on the record so that you don't pay whatever fees you need to pay with the stakeholder once you talk to the right guys. And it was a total, headache to get container loaded from the port. I've been around here since 1999, and so I've been able to witness all of the transition, even after the 2003 war and all that. I mean, the port has always been the gateway to our economy.
As a result of the port, there has been some ancillary construction. You know, if you look at the bridges that connect the Bushrod Island, that is the Zulu Doma Bridge, and the Gabriel Tucker Bridge, both of those bridges were constructed because we were constructing a port to provide an access way.
And during the civil crisis, you know, whatever military assistance, whatever relief assistance given to Liberia will come through the Freeport of Monrovia. I mean, so we can say, when we pull a figure to it, we can say about 95% of our, you know, our economic activities, it runs through the port.
Which means all the rice, all the fuel, all the stuff you have in your house, all the rubber that's exported, all the timber that's exported comes through the port. So it's a critical part of the overall economic system in Liberia.
If you also look at the workforce of the port, it has provided employment. So the port has been a nuclear of economic activities, but also a nuclear for social services.
Everything in this country is impacted by what happens here at the Freeport of Monrovia. I mean, where there's issues in this port relative to, you know, the free movement of cargo, you feel the rumblings in the community.
Just last year alone, we had about 80% of all goods coming into Liberia coming through the port.
So if you take away Freeport from Liberia, I mean, Liberia may not even survive, you know, economically. So it is actually the gateway to Liberian economy.
It's the core of our existence, the source of income for the government, the place of repatriating people, the place of returning people. But the port itself, as strategically as it placed in Liberia, is also critical to the West African sub-region. If adequately structured well again like it did in the past, our port has the potential of serving not just Liberia, but the West Coast.
Born Africa! Born Africa! Born Africa! Africa is our home. I'm from Africa. And you are from Africa. I'm from Africa. And you are from Africa. Let us reconcile. One of the answer.
I think if we can recall historically, the Freeport of Monrovia was one of the best things in West Africa for a very long time. We had 4 docks, we had a good harbor basin, we used to have more than 30 ships at anchor, but suddenly everything dwindled down because our dock became very fragile.
The pier itself was damaged because there was a vessel that came in without a captain or a pilot. It came straight and broke the pier into 2. So there are certain areas vessel couldn't berth.
But thank goodness to development that came along the way and rehabilitated the dock. In 2010, there was a concession agreement that uplifted the face of the port.
We do have an agent, APM Terminals, that are managing the port on behalf of the government of Liberia, on behalf of the National Port Authority, and the Liberian Maritime Authority is the sector regulator.
APM Terminals employs directly almost 230 employees and indirectly nearly 800 more employees here in the Freeport of Monrovia. Our commitment to everyone that works on our facility is you come to work and you leave home safe. It's a daunting task at times given the work that's done here, but you come safe, you have the right tools, you have the right equipment, and you're able to do your job at your highest level.
Today, our stevedores are using PPE to work. It was not like that.
Things have changed. When vessel come here, even based on the rate, the numbers of units that it brings, so now we take two days, maximum 3 days to work the vessel. Like the way we used to do, so now we're working one vessel for 6-7 days, both discharge and loading.
When ship comes, Normal days when the tech vessel comes, some of the workers, they can change after working one shift, like 8 hours, work started 8 hours work, they can jump on other companies to work in the night. They work in the day, then they work in the night and all that. But this time it wasn't like that anymore.
So there's a big differences there, there's changes there.
Structure-wise, the port has improved, at least to meet the international standard in that before, there was no concrete pavement at a certain point, starting from even from the gate, okay? There was spark hole, where sometimes trucks going up, sometimes trucks will fall.
We wasn't RSPS compliance country, so the ships coming to the country have to be checked and counter-checked. Because of that, the freight to Liberia was very high.
There were some systems that maybe people could see today and don't even want to enter here. As you can see, the brokers, they are all developing now. They had a long route to travel on from here, walking up and down, and even tracing their containers back then was something that they couldn't bear.
And I see the vast improvement. And I'm not talking about the infrastructure, all right? I'm talking about the structure of the port. Order, okay? You go to the port now, you see that there's order. It was good, all right, that we outsource that portion of the port to an international company, okay, that have brought a semblance of stability, a semblance of order. So that order is having a domino effect on the other side.
Well, I mean, certainly we have to give credit to APM Terminals. APM Terminals has changed the face of this entire Freeport. Prior to APM Terminals coming, when I worked here, well, there are pictures, but things looked very different. In terms of safety, in terms of knowledge, in terms of just being more professional and more safe and more efficient in terms of how the work is done here at the Freeport of Monrovia, at least certainly for those areas that APM has been able to be involved with. There's been 1,000% improvement, no question, in regards to what we're seeing now compared to just from 1997 when I came. The state of the wharf there, it was extremely unsafe. There were holes in there. I had employees that were at night when we were working vessels mistakenly fall into holes on the pier. And we had to go and rescue them to get them out. In terms of the safety features that were being employed then, for people working on board vessels or around vessels compared to now, I mean, it's like day and night. Things are so much better improved here now. Of course, we still have ways to go, but certainly I think APM, along with their partners, and NPA certainly is a partner, I think everybody, we're all taking a step forward. We have all been taking steps forward, and certainly we're moving in the right direction.
From an APM Terminals Liberia point of view, one of the biggest changes was the building of the berth. When we took over the port, the berth had collapsed. It was a metal bridge over the berth to keep it moving, and we built a modern first-class berth. That changed things, and that's our basis for doing business here. It's our biggest investment here. Other things as simple as traffic movements in the port. We spent a lot of time with our partners figuring out how to move traffic in and out of the port in a better way. It doesn't seem much to people on the outside, but it helps get goods out of the port faster. Even more so now, we're putting in digitization in the port, and it's theoretical in a sense that it's in computers, it's in the networks, but it changes the way people move around the port. There's less people walking in the port. That's just adding a lot of safety and a lot of security to the port. We've seen a lot of changes in regards to just perimeter fencing. It used to be you could walk through the port quite easily, and now there's actually security points that we met with ISPS, U.S. Coast Guard standards. So it's just the look and feel of the port has changed over the last decade.
Let us reconcile. One not the answer.
When I took over as operations manager, I wasn't trying to take over trying to run the port to get the greatest numbers, the best results. I took over the port to make a Liberian and Liberians credible to operate the port.
One thing that has become absolutely true is people, and people drive the port here. Our colleagues here at APM Terminals Liberia, our colleagues at National Port Authority, Liberian Revenue Authority, and all the other agencies that operate in the port, they are really the ones who drive the economic activity here.
In the port, you are not just a number, you are a person. And if you sit in the strategic position, you find yourself touching everyone within this country because you are determining what they eat, what they do, how they live. Career in the port and what they have done for me have placed me where I want to continue to serve because I see the relevance of being able to give back to Liberia just from being in the port.
Some of the people that even work here in the port, majority are from around this community. They benefit a lot.
There's training for them. If you leave from here, you can have an opportunity to work for another company based on the ongoing training, regular training, the manpower development.
People don't realize the work and the effort that's put in the Freeport. It's not an easy job. At times it's not safe. There's big containers and big cargo moving around. And it's important to recognize that people move cargo, not systems, not equipment, it's people.
11 years of war set us back almost 100 years, and the world is not waiting for us. We're looking at how to take that qualitative jump into reality, today's reality.
This is why we continue to seek means to improve the port of, because if the Freeport of Monrovia is not up to standard that it should be, then it affects the entire country.
So we expect that in the not too distant future, okay, we have a port authority or Freeport of Monrovia that we all can be proud of and we all can point to and say, yes, that is one of Liberia's achievement, and that is something that we can speak proudly about.
This is our Liberia. We want to see this our nation's economy's gateway. We want to see it improve, to the standards of some of our neighboring brothers and sister countries in the region.
And if you look at night, it's like a beacon of hope. It's so brightly lit. There is life over there.
It's not just a cliche. It's an actual fact that the Freeport of Monrovia is the gateway to our economy, and it is performing more and more as that shining light for development and economic expansion in our country.
All hail Liberia, hail. All hail Liberia, hail. This glorious land of liberty shall long be ours. Though new her name, green be her fame, and mighty be her power. Though new her name, green be her fame, and mighty be her power, and mighty be her power, and mighty be her power. In joy and gladness, with our hearts united, we shall